What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Everything College Basketball Podcast, episode 234. I'm, of course, your host, Josh Burton, and joining me again today for a special episode is my guy, Mr. Michael DeRosa. DeRosa, the topic of today's episode, we were talking about a conference that formed in 1953 that sees Duke as its most recent champion, that has the most ACC tournament championships at 22, followed by North Carolina at 18, but North Carolina has the most regular season ACC crowns at 32, North Carolina State at 7, Wake Forest at 4, Georgia Tech at 2, Virginia at 11, and so on and so forth. That is right. We are talking about the Atlantic Coast Conference and previewing the conference heading into the season. Now, DeRosa, we know a very historic and rich conference and tradition when it comes to college basketball. In the last few years have fallen a little on hard times. They've been very top-heavy with their best teams going on to either compete for a national title or make a Final Four. Usually Duke. A couple years ago, Carolina made it there. We all remember that. Or Virginia. It's kind of been very, very top-heavy. The league has struggled, I would say, in the last 4 to 5 years, honestly, as a league from top to bottom, being surpassed by the Big 12, being surpassed by the SEC. So are they going to be on the comeback trail this year? That's what we're here to kind of diagnose and find out. DeRosa, before we get into all things ACC today, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing well. I'm traveling the next couple of days, so that's going to be something because I'm really bad at traveling, but very happy to talk basketball. And Josh, we're getting closer. I don't know about you. I was watching some exhibition games over the weekend. So we're getting there, man. Big East Media Day was today, so I listened to a couple interviews, stuff like that. We're basically here, Josh.
Dude, exhibition games, watched them last week. I'm glad you got to watch some this weekend. I did not get to watch hardly anything because, for those who don't know, I'm a married man now. I got married Saturday. It was amazing. Still, I told you off here, still riding that high. We got blessed with the weather, had family, friends. It was amazing. Gave up watching some sports gladly to do that. So a little behind the loop on some of the exhibition games. But
you're an old man now. You got to mature. You got to mature, Josh. You're an old man now. You're Unc now.
Hey, man, priorities. I could watch Boston College exhibition games, or I could get married to the love of my life. I mean, I got to make a choice here, right? So, but we will talk about it. I did watch some exhibition that happened throughout the week last week. Down there in, Birmingham, or down there in Alabama. There's back-to-back days. Florida State, part of the ACC we will talk about. I was able to catch them. You mentioned it, though, this weekend. You talking about this upcoming Friday. You've got back-to-back. You've got Kentucky, Purdue in Rupp Arena, a top 10 showdown. As soon as that game ends, you can flip to the ACC network and watch Louisville and Kansas, another top 15, top 20 showdown. Dude, this is the best. Since they've made it where high majors can play one another in exhibition games, it's the best. I don't care what they say.
Agreed.
I mean, we're getting essentially 2 top 20 ball games back-to-back on a Friday night in October. You can't beat it. And I know it doesn't count for nothing, but in a way it does count. We'll talk about Florida State. The wins and losses don't matter. They clearly don't matter because they don't count in your record. But I do think you can learn a little bit this early about some teams. For instance, when we talk about Florida State, I think we learned at least one thing interesting when we talk about Florida State here in a bit that I think will carry over into the season. Let's just dive into it, man.
Yeah.
Let's dive into it. Before we do, obviously, I already put him on the screen here. Connor McCabe, first in the chat. As always, shout out Connor. He's always there as the bell goes off. We're live on the YouTube. We're live on the Twitter. Please if you're watching along, drop a like on the video here. Hit the subscribe button and share. We greatly appreciate it. It helps us out with the algorithm and everything else. Let's just start like we have been with all these conference previews at the bottom of the league. Well, actually, first, let's take an overview of the league. We talked about it off air. I think there's 7 NCAA tournament teams, potentially 8. But I can also see if things go sideways, as few as 5 in this league. What's your take on the league as a whole this year?
I think that's about where I'd put it. I think the floor would be 5, ceiling 8. I could see 9 just because the coach has been pretty good lately for my 9, but we'll get to that later. But even like there's some teams in this league that I think have like a lot of talent. I just don't trust the coach whatsoever. And that's kind of been a theme for like these rankings, like Jerome Tang in the Big 12. Like I don't trust him. I don't trust him. There were a couple other teams, Cincinnati. I don't trust Wes Miller. There are a couple teams like that in this league. So those are teams that like, yeah, if they play up to their talent, they're surefire tournament teams, but just flat out, I don't trust the coach to coach around some of the flaws that are noticed. I think those are just going to be gaping holes and they'll lose games they shouldn't. So yeah, I'd say about that. There are definitely some teams that I think really have a chance to like take that step up, but yeah, I'm with you. I think we kind of agree. And then like the top 2 teams I think are really elite in this league. Like those teams, it's kind of like the Big East, right? I feel like the top 2 teams in this league could win this league by like 3 or 4 games and they're just going to be competing with each other.
No, I totally agree with that. I do agree when we get there. In some order, I guarantee we've got the same top 2. And like we've done in most of these conferences, we don't have a clue how each other's ranked each of these teams, but it feels pretty unanimous that the top 2 in one order or another is going to be the top 2.
Yep.
But again, like if for my 3, 4, or 5 play as well as I think they can, it could really throw a wrench in some of this. And so it really depends. But yeah, I foresee if you put me to the sword, so to speak, right now, how many teams for sure get into this NCAA tournament? I would say 7 safely, 8 being a bubble team. And so I think that's kind of where we go from here on this. Let's just start at the bottom of the league. I have a team that I know you disagree on, but when we look going to the upper class of this league is a big separator from the middle and the bottom. And to me, when you look at teams 9 through 16 in a lot of ways, it's kind of a mixed bag. It just depends on preferences, whether you like the coach or they've got a star player you like, or maybe a style that you favor to win a couple extra games. So I think 9 through 16 is kind of a shake them up, toss them, and pull them out kind of scenario here. But let's start down at the bottom of the league. 16th place. Who do you predict will come in dead last in the Atlantic Coast Conference this year?
There are 18 teams in this league, Josh.
Oh, yes. Why do I keep saying 16? You're absolutely right. 18. My bad.
This is where I have Stanford.
Okay.
I don't think I can speak for more than 30 seconds on this team. Literally, my entire note is Kyle Smith is too good a coach to have this roster. That's it. That's all I got. The roster, Kyle Smith is a sharp mind. This roster blows DFL.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I tell you what I did when I was writing everything down last night, because I'm still on a kind of a hangover from the wedding, is I totally forgot to add Boston College. I forgot to add Boston College to my damn notes. I forgot to have them. I have Boston College 18. So
Fair.
let's talk about them. I actually have them in my notes. I just didn't have them in my actual standings here. Let's talk about Boston College. I have them 18th. You have them 17th. So we're there. 207th in offense last year. Clearly struggled. I think when defense, they were like 170, 167 off the top of my head. So not very good in either, but better defensively than they were offensively. They returned Donald Hand 36.8% from the three-point line last year, made 73s. He had a defensive rebounding rate of 18.6, that put him 336 in the country. I mean, that's a wing player getting on national charts, according to KenPom, for defensive rebounding, so you can always take that. They bring back Fred Payne. Interesting stat about Fred Payne. 0 of 14 from three-point land in his last 6 games. That's not going to help out.
So what you're saying is he's due.
He's due. And it's also probably a big reason why when you can't make threes, you have the 207th best offense.
Yep.
Aiden Shaw, 92 games played, only 12 games started, but it's a lot of experience coming back. 3 points per game career average. There's just not a lot to work here with. I'm doing the best I can to help Earl Grant out here to try to make him seem somewhat palatable. They're bringing Jason Asamoah in from Baylor. Didn't really see the best of him last year, but when you did see glimpses of him, more of an athletic 6'8" dude, not really a shooter at all. He's going to be there to rebound, be athletic, defend. I don't know, man. I'm struggling with this team. I know in KenPom, like Florida State's ranked the worst. There's 97 schools in the Power 5 leagues And I think Florida State was ranked dead last of those 97. And I think Florida State kills this Boston College team.
Yeah, I'm just looking at KenPom now. Penn State is one spot above Florida State. I would disagree, but I'm not. We'll talk about Florida State a little later. But yeah, it looks like Florida State is last. I would disagree with that. But yeah, I don't have much to say on Boston College. They're the 17th team in this league. The only reason I put them 17 instead of 18 is because Donald Hand is amazing. I think he'll just will them to a couple wins, but the rest of this roster sucks. I don't really have much to say. Aiden Shaw was athletic, but hasn't shown anything. Asamoah, same thing. This roster is not good. I watched Bowden Kapke. If Bowden Kapke is going to be your starting center, I watched him a lot at Butler. He was kind of respectfully not very good at Butler as a backup, and now he's apparently going to start here. That's red flag to me. Donald Hand's amazing. I don't really like doing this, especially in October, but Donald Hand will be a big-time portal target for a lot of teams in March. Because he's very good, and the rest of this roster is not good. And I don't think Earl Grant will have a job after this season.
I don't see how. And the thing going for Donald Hand, if he continues that 3-point percentage at least, everybody's going to need a dude who can make threes. So
he got to the line. They played an exhibition against UConn. I didn't watch anything. I won't lie to you. But he got to the line at will. I think he shot like 16 free throws. So like he's genuinely very good.
Yeah, I agree. So I have Boston College down in 18. You have them at 17. Who'd you say you had at 18?
Stanford.
Stanford, and I have Stanford at 17. So we can talk about the Cardinal here. Look, you mentioned Kyle Smith kind of as a joke. He's too good to have this type of team, and I totally agree here. You look at the production from last year that they lost when they actually had a pretty good team for all things considered, 21-14, but they lose their top three scorers and Reynoud, Sellers, and Jalen Blakes, and you replace it with really nobody. Ryan Agarwal, I just butchered his name. Agarwal, is that his name? Agarwal? I butchered his name, forgive me. But I know he's back. They bring in the transfer that it's from D2 that's expected to be their starting point guard, Jeremy Dent-Smith. There's just not a lot on this team, man.
Yeah, this roster is not an ACC roster. It is just not. It's really what I feel like this roster could compete in like the Big West. I think you had a Big West team here in the ACC. 18. Kyle Smith's a great coach. This roster's not it. Good luck.
Yeah, look, and those are three big players to lose off of a team. Reynoud was an NBA guy. Sellers was a double-digit scorer or thereabout, and Jalen Blake's had the experience at his previous stop, and he played really well from last year. That's just a hard ask at a place like Stanford to replace that, and then you bring in a D2 guard that you're expected to take over the point guard duties for you, and this is going to be, in my opinion, a very offensive-minded league this year, especially. It kind of usually is historically with the ACC. And if you can't score, let's say 75 at least nightly, I don't know how many games you're going to win. I just think it's going to be a struggle for Stanford this year. So I have them 17th. Let's move up to 16th. And you talked about you think this will be the last year potentially for Earl Grant at Boston College. I think this is the last year for Steve Forbes at Wake Forest. He's danced with the devil many times the last couple years, trying to get to the NCAA tournament. They lose Cam Hildreth. They lose Hunter Salas. They lose Efton Reed on a team that was bubblicious last year. You bring in Nate Calamese from Washington State, who scored 15.2 points per game, 4.4 assists, and on 13.2 field goal attempts. So he was getting his shots up. Makai Mason comes in from Washington, originally started at Rice. We know
Coach's
him very
guy.
well.
Yep.
Coach's guy. 9.9 points last year in the Big Ten, 40.2% from the three-point line, made 53 of them on 132 attempts. Cooper Schweiger coming in from Valpo, 15.8 points a game, 7.8 rebounds. Here's the problem with that. I do think offensively they will produce enough on a lot of nights to be competitive, but where the hell are they going to have the athleticism from and where they're going to get stops from? Schweiger at Valpo, playing at Valpo and getting 16 a game and basically 8 rebounds is a whole different ballgame than going to the ACC, where you're tasked to go against some of these monster athletic future NBA guys that you'll see at Carolina and Carolina State, even Miami, Louisville, Duke, all these types of Duke bigs you're going to go against. he's not a stretch big either in that sake where he can really pull out the defense or pull out the bigs away from the rim. He relies a lot on being around the rim, probably 10 feet and in, or even 8 feet and in. Makai Mason's good. I think he'll translate. He does have that Big Ten experience coming over from Washington. I think he'll be a good guard. Calamise at Washington State was a big-time scorer. Will it translate to the ACC? We'll see. I think he'll be good. Numbers and production will dip, but I just think Wake's in a lot of trouble. And if you look at their bench, isn't bad. Miles Colvin coming in from Purdue, right? No, not Purdue.
No, you're right. It's Purdue.
Purdue. Okay, yes. Okay. From Purdue. Omaha Billiou, very name that we're very familiar with. I don't think we've seen the best of him, so maybe Forbes gets the best out of him. But it's a 7-man roster, and then you're relying on some lesser-known names. Sebastian Adkins, Isaac Carr's a freshman. I don't know, man. I think this team can score. I don't know if the athleticism and the will to defend for 40 minutes is going to be there.
I have them 13. I think they're pretty definitively, to me, better than the teams I have 14, 15, 16. Like, I think they're in that tier. Like, for me, I would say 13, 12 is like a little sub-tier, but really I'd go like 8 to 13 for me is like a tier. And Wake's, I have them at the last of that tier, but I think they are a tier above where you have them. You mentioned Makai Mason. Miles Colvin, I actually think is a guy that's in line for a pretty big jump. I think he's going to be pretty dang good. I think Calamise is fine. I watched Washington State a couple times. He was decent. They played Georgetown in the Crown. I don't remember if he played, but like he's a good player. He was a leading scorer somewhere before. Lamar is the name that comes to mind. I don't know if that's right. But Makai Mason's a solid player. He was all right, granted on a pretty bad Washington team. Yeah, but I think Colvin can take a jump. I think they need a lot from either Spillers or Billiou, or really both, honestly. I think you need quite a bit from them. Not optimistic on Schwieger. I think they have enough 1 through 4 that can like make it work, and you can run some like small ball stuff with this team.
You almost have to at this point, right?
What's up?
Like you're almost going to have to if you look at the lineup. Like Schwieger, however you pronounce his last name, is 6'10". That's the biggest size they've got listed on this roster here. So you're almost going to have to go 4 round 1, basically.
Yeah, and I think really just where we differ is I think Colvin in particular is in line for a pretty big jump. I think Billiou as well has the talent to take one. I think that's why I have this team a decent bit higher than. I also think Calamise is better than you said he was. Not like a big amount, but like enough to where I have him 13. I think they are a tier above where you have them. 14, 15, 16 for me are teams I think are pretty definitively worse than Wake. But I don't love this team either. I don't think they're a tournament team by any means.
Like totally fair. And I accept the fact that I think this team has enough offensive punch that they're like, there's going to be nights. What I'm trying to say is if you look up and they're playing, let's say an SMU or Clemson that we think are a lot better, and you look up and they've got them down 15 with 4 to go. And I think that's a lot because Calamise, Mason, Colvin, if he really steps up his game, leaving Purdue, Spillers. I think there's enough offensive punch there that they can compete. I just worry about some athleticism and defensive issues on this team when they get spread out, and especially when they play bigger teams because the size is not there. If you start having to front with your bigs and you're going to leave some backside seals, it's going to create a whole host of issues, and I don't love the depth. But I won't be shocked if Wake, to your point, ends up a little higher than what I have them. I have Wake 16th. Who do you have?
This is where I have Pitt.
Okay, I have them 13th, so let's roll with it.
Okay. I watched a little bit. I mean, I watched the highlights and stuff for the game they played against Providence, the exhibition. Not much to say really there. There's a little bit of DeMarco Minor buzz. He's a guy that they seem to be relatively high on. Oregon State transfer. He can run a team at least. He can run a team. He'll be a very solid floor general, but I think you need guys around him. And I don't really like a lot of the guys around him. 2 guys I'll hype up before I throw it away because, again, I don't have too much to say. I think Amari Witherspoon, the freshman, I think he's a player. I think he's going to be a dude. Again, shout out the DMV. I think he's very underrated. I think he's a guy that could be starting for them immediately. And if he isn't, he will be starting for them by the end. By December, I'll make the prick. He's starting for them. He's going to be one of their better players. And Roman C. Lupa, I watched him over the summer. New Zealand, played with the New Zealand team. Really cool hair. Physical.
Yeah, well, 2 things that go well. New Zealanders, really tough and physical, and the hair.
Yep.
No, I have them 13th. And again, to me, these are a mixed bag of teams, and I probably could be talked into putting them lower. You mentioned DeMarco Minor coming in from Oregon State, 9.8 points a game, 4.8 rebounds, 5.1 assists. That'll play. Oregon State's clearly not in a Power 5 anymore, but they did go against Gonzaga and St. Mary's a couple times last year. So it's not like a huge drop from a true out-and-out mid-major or low major. I think he'll play at Pitt. Not play, I'm in the numbers. I think they'll play. Barry Dunning Jr. coming in from South Alabama. Again, kind of what we've talked about. Does it translate coming from a smaller school and playing in a power league? At South Alabama last year, 15.1 points per game, 7.2 rebounds. And then I agree with you on Mari Witherspoon, a DMV kid. I don't know. I think Jeff Capel's back's against the wall here. He's another one. I feel like there's quite a few coaches in this league that their back's against the wall this season. I don't think he's going to win enough to make the NCAA tournament conversation, but I think they'll win enough to at least be competitive, even though I still have them 13th. They just got a big-time recruit. I forget the kid's name. I seen it the other day. High-level 4-star kid.
Yeah, Chase Foster.
Chase Foster, thank you. I knew I'd seen it. Like I said, I've been wrapped up with my wedding stuff all last week, so I've been trying to play catch-up here. But I don't know, man. It's, again, if you told me Pitt finished 15th, I'd believe you. If you told me they finished 13th where I have them, they're one of those teams. Like, do you trust Jeff Capel? Do you trust him as a coach?
I don't. Not at all.
I don't either. But at the same time, do you trust Autry? Do you trust
Nope.
do you trust a lot of these dudes? So somebody's got to finish 13th. I have Pitt, but I could be talked down. 15th, here's where I have Florida State. And again, I think this is where
I have them here too.
So we have them exact same. Perfect. So let's talk about them. Could they finish higher in Luke Locke's first year? I think so. Could they even finish as low as last? Maybe. Here's the thing I think about Florida State that we got intel. I mentioned a few minutes ago in the opening that exhibition games. I watched them play Alabama. I understand. It's exhibition. You're not playing a whole lot of your sets. You're not doing a whole lot of your defense. It was a high scoring game. Totally get that. I'm not overreacting. But I think one thing we learned from Florida State, at least system-wise, Luke Locke's teams are going to shoot. They're going to shoot a lot of threes, and they're going to try to play fast. It even said so, as much so on the broadcast. Will it be Mike D'Antoni's 7-second offense where as soon as you come down the floor, you're getting a shot? Not quite. But they're going to try, let's say, I think they're probably going to target 30 to 35 threes a game because they talked about, and you saw in that exhibition, you take a three. If you get it off the three-band, kick it out. You get another one. As long as you got some daylight, let it fly. And they hit quite a few of them, especially in that first half and early part of the second when they're actually beating Alabama. Rob McCray, Kobe McGee, LeJay Jones had a really good game against Alabama, letting it fly. I think this is a team that when you're so heavy on transfers and you want to play this type of style where it's fast flowing, letting a lot of threes fly, you would know as well as I do. There's going to be nights where you look up and Florida State is 14 of 35 from three, and they've knocked off somebody that you thought there was no chance they've knocked off. And then you're turn around and watch them play. We'll go back to Pitt. They play Pitt, and they're 6 of 41 from three, and they've got hammered by 22 points. I think this is a kind of how they're trying to build this style. It should be a very entertaining brand of basketball. I don't think they're going to be able to defend too well with the lick, but it's going to be one of those high-tempo, high-octane, three-point, let-it-fly type of offenses. And if McCray, McGee, and LeJay Jones can get them to fall, they're going to knock some teams off that they should or they shouldn't, and they'll steal some wins. But because of that, I can't trust them any farther than 15th.
Yeah, I got them 15 as well. There's been a lot of talk in very niche college basketball circles about which Drexel transfer underperforms. Yame Butler, Cole Hargrove, Jason Drake all went to higher profile schools. Yame went to Butler University. Cole Hargrove is the backup center at Providence, and Jason Drake went to Indiana and is going to another player reserve role, deep reserve, 5th, 6th guard. Mm-hmm. Only one of those guys is going to start. That's Kobe McGee. I think he's the one that underperforms, just flat out. Chauncey Wiggins is a solid player, but yeah, I'm not very high on this roster. And Greasy Theory that I looked at while I was researching this team, Alex Steen is their D2 transfer. He was the Defensive Player of the Year in his league from Florida Southern. However, Florida State put zero effort into his player profile. One, they misspelled Florida Southern, which is tough considering your school is called Florida State. You should know how to spell Florida. Yeah, they got that one wrong. Apparently there's an O. There are two O's somehow. They did Floroda. Yeah, so that's tough. And I'm fairly skeptical of how he translates. Also because he shares the name with a hockey player, a guy who plays the left wing on the St. Louis Blues. And in the profile they did on his website, they mentioned him playing hockey. And it's like, okay. Then I looked into the guy and it's like, all right, he's from Florida. Not a lot of hockey players from Florida. And I stalked his Instagram following page and he's following one hockey meme page. So I'm very suspicious that he's been playing hockey for 14 years before discovering basketball. So I got to do a little bit of journalism there. But if they're not putting the effort in, it means they think their team's shit because this team's not very good. This is a pass. Move on.
Yeah, I totally agree. But hey, I tell you what, though. If they have one of those games against, let's say, a Duke or Louisville, and they catch fire, it's at very least going to be interesting. It's going to be entertaining at the very least. But I don't think that translates to a ton of wins. I set the over-under for conference wins 4.5. Mm-hmm. I think if they get 5 conference wins, they're doing well in year one with this roster. 14th place, this was kind of a debate for me. I have Cal.
Same.
Mark, okay, perfect. We keep agreeing. We both like Mark Madsen, correct? Yep. We both think he's a good coach. 94th in offense last year, 175th in defense. Offensive rebound percentage, they were 37th in the country. Like, they had a pretty solid team last year, but they lose Jovan Blackshirt. They lose Andrei Stojakovic, Mady Sissoko, and Jeremiah Wilkinson. That is a 4 core of a team that was pretty tough last year. Day-Day Ames, 8.7 points coming in from Virginia, 39.7% from the three-point line. Chris Bell coming in from Syracuse, 9.3 points. Shot 35.3% from three, so an average enough three-point shooter. Production dipped, though, from his sophomore year to junior year, where his sophomore year at Syracuse, he was he was 9.3 last year. I think they said it was like 12-something the year prior, his sophomore at Syracuse. So production dipped, so it's kind of – is it just a trend line where he's starting to go down a little bit, or is it just a one-off? 75 games started of 95 played, so he brings experience. John Camden comes in from Delaware, 16.8 points per game, 41.6% from the three-point line, made 96 threes on 231 attempts, 41 steals. This is his 4th team, though. He spent time at Memphis, Virginia Tech, and last year Delaware, where you broke out. The three-point percentage, though, for your projected starting 4-man, you made 96 threes at 41%. And to have 41 steals, look, that'll play all day right there. You bring back Ritus, is it Petritus or Petriadis? I don't know how to say his last name. Ritus Petritus? I'm sorry.
Petritus. Yeah.
Petritus. Lee Dort, we all remember him from Vandy a couple years ago. He's out there to protect the rim and rebound the ball, essentially. Justin Pippen coming in from Michigan, didn't really get to do a whole lot at Michigan, so we'll see if he gets his chance at Cal, if he blossoms to be any sort of type of player like his brother was, and that's a huge plus for Madsen's team. But I look at this team, man, and I see some pieces I think I could like a John Camden. I think that's always going to play at a 6'8" power forward spot. But I don't know, man. It's just another one of these teams I'm kind of indifferent on.
Yeah, same. Ames could be fun. Justin Pippen, if he's anything like his brother, he's going to be a player. Chris Bell's fine. Camden can play. But yeah, I don't really trust him. And it sucks because I really like Mark Madsen. But yeah, there's unfortunately been nothing here to indicate to me that this team is going to take a substantial jump forward. Another 9 transfer team. It's been a while for him. At this point, they're just kind of living in this range, and this is where I think they're going to be.
Yeah, look, again, another one of these teams, I think offensive potential is there at the very least, but we'll see. So we have them 14th. I've already told you I have Pitt at 13. Who do you have at 13?
That's where I had Wake.
So we had Wake at 13. So perfect. So let's move up to team number 12. This is where I have Virginia Tech.
This is where I have Georgia Tech.
Oh, I'm a little higher on Georgia Tech. I have them all the way at 8th.
I'm much higher on Virginia Tech than you. I have Virginia Tech 7th.
Okay, perfect. So we'll disagree here because I have Georgia Tech 8th. Let's talk about the Yellow Jackets. And you have them down here in 12. I have them in 8. So let's talk about them.
Yeah. I've been relatively high on the job Damon Stoudemire has done. I mean, we've been talking about him for a little while, but they lose a lot of talent. And like, I think Scylla could be very talented. I'm excited to see him, but I think he kind of has to be awesome for them if they're really going to like reach the next level. You also need Jaden Mustaf to take a really huge jump. I think Lamar Washington is fine. Like, he was not great at Texas Tech. He was good last year at Pacific, but again, he really struggled with turnovers. That concerns me for this year, coming up a higher level, that he was bad with turnovers there. I think that problem could reign here. You need Mustaf to be substantially better than he was last year. Kawasi Reeves has just been, I mean, I don't know if he's fully healthy. I hope he is. But yeah, well, that's TBD. Cam Kraft is a guy, I think he can shoot it, but I don't really know if he translates to the high major level well. You need Scylla to be awesome. Bandongo is awesome, just flat out. He's awesome. They need the front court to be really good. I like Peyton Marshall too, honestly. I think if you can get him to like really want to play basketball and lose weight, and he can like actually move up and down the court without being gassed, I think he could be a player. But there's a lot of work that has to be done there just to get him in basketball shape. But I like the front court. Back court, I've got some questions, a lot of them. I could move him up to 11, but I don't think I will.
Yeah, I mean, Peyton Marshall, 7 foot, 300 pounds.
He's got the skill level to play. He's just got to lose fucking weight.
Yeah, dude, there is no excuse for a basketball player. Like football, if you want to go be a nose tackle and be the biggest nose tackle of all time, like by all means, right? But basketball, 7 foot, 300 pounds, just that's just being lazy, to be totally honest. That's just being lazy.
Like, he was the guy that when he entered the portal, I was like, look, if Butler wants a big, if you can get this kid in shape, he's a player, just straight up. But it's a big if, and you'd have to do that evaluation, and I hope Stoudemire did.
Well, even on football, and I forget the player's name. He was a draft pick in the NFL this year.
Yeah, with the Bucks.
With the Bucks, and he came in out of shape, and they had him spend all OTAs trying to get in shape, and he wouldn't do it or couldn't do it, and they cut him, and he lost seemingly his dream because he wouldn't get in shape.
Well, they picked him back up because they were facing the Eagles, so they had him just push.
Yeah, of course, but the point still stands. Like, you're an athlete, and might as well say a semi-pro athlete at this point. Get in shape. But no, I agree. But here's my thing: we know Damon Stoudemire is a winning coach. We saw what he did at the low major level. He had a fairly good year last year, all things considered, with Georgia Tech. I do think he is building something with Georgia Tech. It's just going to continue to take time. You mentioned a couple players I want to touch on real quick, actually, as to why I like them. First, Kawasi Reeves, to your point. Hopefully he is healthy or will be getting healthy to at least play most of the year, because that is a big kind of turnaround for this team if Kawasi Reeves is healthy, or if he's not playing, it kind of changes projections as well. Mustaf, you talked about. I literally have in my notes, you said it almost verbatim. He needs to be better this year as a sophomore. I literally put expecting a sophomore jump. I think that's what everybody around the program is expecting from him. He had 9 double-digit scoring games last year as a freshman, which isn't bad, all things considered. Yeah. But I do think that people are expecting a big kind of year 1 to year 2 leap from him. Lamar Washington, you talked about it. He wasn't very good at Texas Tech, but went off to Pacific last year, really stepped his game up. Is it one of those cases he found his level at the mid-major and he can't really do it at the high major? I guess we'll find out, but 13.5 points, 5.1 rebounds, and 5.8 assists last year at Pacific. That'll play. And then you talked about Bandongo, dude. I literally wrote my notes, double-double machine, 13 double-doubles. And if you look at those stat lines from there or go back and watch the tape, there were a lot of like 6 offensive rebound, 12 defensive rebound type performances to go with 24 points. He is amazing. Like he has all ACC first or second team written all over him. Should he continue that level of production? But yeah, you talk about Kraft, good shooter. Will it translate to this level? I guess we'll find out. But I think there's pieces there, and I'm putting my faith in Damon Stoudemire to kind of blend it and figure it out and bring the best out of some of these. That's why I have them up to 8, but you have them in 12, which makes sense as well. Let's go to team number 11 here, and I think mine will be disappointing to a certain fan base that maybe has high expectations. I don't know what their expectations are anymore. But who do you have finishing the 11th spot?
This is where I have SMU.
Oh, okay. I'm a believer in SMU this year, so you got to talk to me on this one.
Yeah, I like Boopy and Samet Yugutuglu. I think that's a very good duo. I think those two. Edwards is a solid role piece. He makes their team better. He makes everybody else better by just doing like a lot of the little things. But I mean, one, Andy Enfield is just a guy I don't really trust. Could that be because you ruined my childhood with Florida Gulf Coast? Maybe. But yeah, he's just a guy I don't fully trust. And I looked at their other two transfers a little bit, just the analytical profile. Pierre's a great scorer, right? Jaron Pierre. He took a huge step up from his last spot last year at Jacksonville State. But how do we think he is as a role guy? Not being the best player on the team, not being a low usage guy. He's been a very high usage guy his entire career. How can he be as a low usage guy? And then I looked into some of the games where he played like legitimate competition. Ken Palm has it listed as tier A competition. Those are like the best of the best teams. In this league, it'd be Louisville, Duke, road games at a handful of the top teams, right? It's a very small sample size each year, granted. So like it's small sample size. So like this could just have just been off days, right? Those are factor in that's real. But he had offensive ratings in those 3 games of those in 3 years of his career. 84.9, 68.8, 26.1 against tier A teams on Ken Palm the last 3 years. Those are truly awful. Average offensive rating for context is 100. 100's average. That's even. If you're above, you're better than average. If you're below, you're worse than average. Those 3 are awful, just particularly awful. And then I looked at the same thing with Corey Washington. And it's the exact same concerns for me. 83.7, 46.2 the last 2 years against tier A teams. SMU was a team in the last few years that beat up on the shit teams and couldn't win a lick of a game against a half-decent team. And that's exactly what I think they're going to be this year. I don't see any reason for them to be better. I don't see any reason for Andy Enfield to rise above what he's been his entire career, which is just average. I think this team is just definitively average. Boopy, Samet are great. I mean, they're fine. The rest of this team is fine. I don't like the depth here that much. I don't know. I just think they're okay. Like, I think if you want to ask me who is like the most okay team in this league, it's SMU. They'll be okay.
Here's the thing. I have them 6, and I think what you said is fair, especially last year where they beat up on some bad teams and couldn't win a game against a team that had a pulse. Mm-hmm. However, if you look at an 18-team conference, you're going to play 9 or 10 teams that kind of fit in that category of being in not worth a shit, to put it frankly. So if you win 10 of those games, that's 10 conference wins right there. That's going to put you in at least an NCAA tournament consideration. 24-11 last year. They had top 70 in both offense and defense. They were 48th offensively. They were 20th in three-point percentage, 14th in offensive rebounding percentage. You talked about Boopy Miller. He was incredible last year, 13.2 points per game. BJ Edwards, 9.9, 3.7 assists. Those are really good foundation pieces in the backcourt to return. You talked about Jaron Pierre. I think it's a very interesting stat about tier A competition, by the way, because he was highly coveted. I know for a fact Kentucky and a lot of high majors wanted him because of his ability to score and shoot. 21.6 points per game coming in from Jacksonville State, 38% from the three-point line, made 104 of them from 272 attempts. The tier A thing is really interesting. The only thing I could potentially say about that is playing on a much inferior team.
You hope they're not committing as much attention, but that was kind of my other concern was his entire career, he's been the guy. Is he a guy that can be a role player?
Well, I guess we're going to find out.
Yeah.
I mean, we will find out this. The hope is, I guess, is that he's comfortable in that role and he becomes a dude that you can rely on and catch and shoot, secondary ball handler. Especially if Boopy's in foul trouble and he's out the game, you can put the ball in his hand. Yep. Plus, Andy he's always ran this NBA kind of system where the ball gets spread around a little bit more. There's more possessions in games. You talked about Corey Washington coming in from Wichita, 13.7. So I think your concerns about tier A competition and especially Jaron Pierre, can he kind of fall back and be a secondary option almost? I think it's a very fair point, but I think if you're infield and even the other teams recruiting, I think Kentucky is probably thinking the same thing. This guy is a proven scorer and he's a shooter. We can figure out the rest, and maybe playing finally with better players, no offense to Jack State, but playing with better players all around you, he doesn't have to do as much. He doesn't have to take 17 field goal attempts per game, and maybe his efficiency numbers will go up. I think maybe I would assume that's what Coach Infield is hoping for. Sam Walters, you didn't mention him, former Alabama guy. He's a 6'9" white dude that shoots. And he's a knockdown shooter when he gets his feet set. And I think that could be a real weapon off the bench. He's not much of a defender, but I think you'll see him in kind of those pick and pop scenarios, stick him in the corner, drive and kick from a Boopy or a BJ or whoever the case may be. And the hope is that he just knocks down some threes for you. I essentially think that's what they brought him in for.
Yeah, pretty much. And another thing I have to say with this team is just like looking at last year, like when they were playing teams that weren't good, when you mentioned like the NBA system, that's when they'd have 78 possessions in a game and just wax a team, right? You're just going up and down the floor and just scoring on them. Like even Boston College, who wasn't very good, they went there and they dominated them because they were able to speed the game up. But when they're playing a team that's worth something, Virginia slowed the game to a crawl against them and made that game very greasy. Duke was able to slow the game down and ended up beating them. Louisville last year, that game was slow play. I don't know why. That doesn't seem to make sense. But like Clemson, every single time they played Clemson or a good coach, Stanford, Kyle Smith, who we talked about, they were able to slow the game to a crawl. So that's just another thing. They were a team that wasn't able to fully imprint their style on every single game. They were only able to do it half the time. And they're just, that again goes to why they're a great hammer and a bad nail.
Look, and I guess the hope for SMU is you flip that, is that you win some of the games. Fine. But I think those are fair points, like at least question marks. I believe in them. I do think anytime you have that amount of scoring, especially when you essentially have four guards, because, I mean, Washington's 6'6"? You have four guards on the floor, and then you have this big monster in Yitaglu at 7'2". So you're going to play 4-around-1, essentially, play a fast-paced style. Anytime you have that type of scoring threats on the floor, I tend to trust that. I think they'll be an NCAA tournament team. I have them 6th. You have them 11th. Here's the one for the Syracuse folks out there. I am not a believer in the Syracuse.
I have them 10.
Okay, so we're perfect to talk about them. I am not a believer in this team. I don't think Autry is a particular great coach, at least at this level. He may be a fine mid-major coach, but I don't think he's a coach for Syracuse. Nathan George coming in from Georgia Tech, 12.3 points a game, 4.2 rebounds, 6.5 assists. Good numbers. Can they play at Syracuse? I guess we'll find out. Nate King's coming from Oregon State, 11.8 points per game. Shot 44.6% from the three-point line. That's going to play, but it was in a limited number compared to some of the other people who shot in the high 40s. 58 makes on 130 attempts. So a smaller sample size, but 58 made threes, 44%. William Kyle III coming in, played 32 games, hasn't made a start yet. But the one interesting fact about him that I thought was interesting, he shot 70% from the floor last year.
Yeah,
38 of 54. You're talking about high efficiency around the rim. I mean, that's at least something to brag about. We didn't even talk about J.J. Starling, too, former Notre Dame player. I know, well, I believe in previous conversations you like J.J. Starling. There's clearly talent there. I don't know. I just don't know if it's blossom. Like Donnie Freeman, sophomore year, does he take a big jump? Kean Anthony, I know everybody's going to be talking about because it's Carmelo's son coming back to his dad's alma mater, now soon to be his alma mater. But he's not his dad. He's not projected to be in the starting lineup. And it's not fair. We've talked about this with Bryce James last week with the Big 12. We've talked about it with other talented, Hall of Famers, kids who go to college. He's been really good on the high school level. He's got the last name that holds weight. But to expect him to be his dad and do what his dad did in his one and only year at Syracuse is asinine for anybody expecting that. You got to give the kid time to grow. I do think he's a good talent. I don't think this is kind of a charity like, hey, this would be fun. Let's bring him on. Yeah. No, he earned his way. He's a really good talent, but it's going to take him time. He's not the strongest build. Like, he's kind of slight. He's athletic. He can do a little bit of everything, but it's just going to take him time.
Yeah, flat out, Josh, I think this roster is awesome. Like, straight up, I think this roster rules. Nate George is a guy I loved at Georgia Tech. I think he's probably one of the reasons I'm lower on Georgia Tech than you is because I thought Nate George was awesome. I mean, Nate George, super skilled. He has size for the position. Like, he was a guy that I thought really made that Georgia Tech team go in the time that he was there. Like, I really liked Nate George. 6'3", very good facilitator, one of the better facilitators in the league, could drive the lane, score at the rim, had a three-point shot, wasn't a great three-point shot, but he was able to take some. I think Nate George was awesome. So him coming here, I think, is a huge upgrade for them. I mean, I don't remember who was running the point for them last year, but Nate George, he's a dude. JJ Starling, very good scorer. I wouldn't call him very good at anything else. I don't think he's a very good everything elser, so to speak, but very good scorer. Nate King can shoot the hell out of the ball, as you mentioned. Part of that, I think, why he didn't have a ton of volume is because Oregon State played at a snail's pace. That little more pace.
Slow.
Yeah. I think that could help. Donnie Freeman was he's a guy that had lottery pick aspirations. He hasn't hit them yet. William Kyle was good 2 years ago. I wouldn't say he's a good defender, but then just looking even at the bench, I think Keon can score. Betsy was another very highly touted recruit. And Sadiq White is a guy I watched quite a bit of. Excellent defender 1 through 4, super athletic. He's 6'9", really long, really athletic. He is a guy that if you put at the top of the key in a 1-3-1, Josh, he's a guy that you are not getting the ball up the court against. You'd have to have 2 or 3 guys back there and just throwing him over his head and just making sure he can't steal the ball from you. He would be a nightmare in a 1-3-1. He would be leading you into that trap and you are screwed, just straight up. Even at the top of the key in a 2-3, that is a guy you're not making passes on. I think he is a perfect recruit for the zone that they used to run, that they do not run anymore. And I don't know why.
Yeah. I don't know. I would guess my guess is Autry wanted to put his own stamp on Syracuse. He didn't want to just be Boeheim's guy that came in and kept running the same old things.
He recruits guys that would fit the zone.
I know.
It's bizarre. Yeah, just straight up. That's the downside. Autry sucks. They're gonna have flaws, jump shooting, selfishness, just role playing in the front court, moving the ball, locker room problems as always at Syracuse in the last few years, all that stuff they're going to have obvious flaws that I don't think are going to be fixed. Red, if you want to prove it to me, straight up, let me put it this way. I think this roster, if it was coached by average high major coach, I think they're a top 8 seed in the tournament. I think they're an 8 seed. They're in an 8-9 game. Maybe even higher. I think this roster is that good. But they're being coached by Red Autry. And because of that, I think they're going to miss the tournament. I think this is going to be his last year. I have him 10th. If we were ranking purely on roster, truly, I'd have him 3rd in the league.
So I have him 11th. And here's my thing, and you're absolutely right about Nate George. Georgia Tech last year was awesome, but he was also coached by Damon Stoudemire. And Damon Stoudemire is not going to put up with the bullshit that Red Autry is going to, or at least that we've seen so far. And that's kind of what makes me worried a little bit. Not the talent. The talent, I just listed off his stats. 12.3 points, 4.2 rebounds, 6.5 assists. That plays all day, every day. But what's the locker room situation going to be like? What's the teammate situation? JJ Starling, as you mentioned, is a big-time scorer, but he doesn't do a whole lot. There's only one ball to go around. Kean Anthony, he's probably got all sorts of people in his ear being like, hey, brother, you got to go be a star here. You got to fire away right away. I don't know, man. I just foresee some chaos with this team. That's why I have them 11th. Talent-wise, though, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right about the talent, but it takes more than talent, as we know. So I have them 11th. You have them 10th, so we're pretty close in that. For 10th, for me, I feel bad because I don't know. I'm indifferent. You'll probably tell me I'm stupid, but I have Miami 10th.
I have Miami at 8, so we're not too far off.
So, brand new head coach this year. You get Jai Lucas, tuck over. Remember, he left Duke at the end of last year early to go take Miami, which we talked about a lot on episodes back towards the end of the year. Almost had to in today's era, though, by the way. He almost had to. So, I don't fault him for that. But Jai Lucas, young, exciting recruiter. Been praised for many years, not only for recruiting, but for a relationship guy with the players. a good developer of individual skill, but it's a big jump to be your first-time head coach and to take over a program that's been very successful in the last 15 years. For Jim Larrañaga, they've got a Final Four under their belt. They've got an Elite Eight under their belt. They've made NCAA tournaments, won ACC titles. So they've been very successful within this conference in the last 15 years. So it's a good job to take over, but it's a hard job at the same time when you're following a legend like that. He did his best. I mean, you could see his recruiting and connections come into play right away. When you talk about, you bring in True Washington from New Mexico, 11.1 points per game, 4 rebounds. Ernest Uday Jr. coming in from TCU, started his career at Kansas, and the Bill Self kind of big man tree. Didn't see a ton of time. He got some action at his time there, but he was always playing behind an All-American center, it seemed like, at Kansas. 6.6 points per game, 7.5 rebounds last year for Jamie Dixon at TCU. You bring over Trey Donaldson, who had a revival last year with Dusty May at Michigan. We talked a lot about him. We even talked to Dusty about Trey's development last year. Started his career at Auburn, wasn't much of a scorer, went and started running the show at Michigan last year on the Big Ten champs and really developed, I think, more as a scorer. I still wouldn't put him as like a knockdown shooter, but he went from his Auburn days where you could leave him wide open to now you have to at least defend him. He's a very good downhill driver, really good defender. And then you bring in Malik Renew in from Indiana, who has been very good, honestly, in his first 3 years at IU, playing alongside Trace Jackson Davis and then taking over for him essentially when Trace graduated. He's a dude, he's 6'9", that can step out and shoot. He's a lefty. He's not a lethal shooter, but he's good enough for you to have to at least respect it. But he is very athletic. Make sure he gets back to the left hand. Good defender around the rim, can move his feet on picks and switches, does a decent enough job in kind of drop coverage. I think he's a really good piece. We've talked a lot about him over the last few years. And then you bring in this star of the class that was headed to Duke, but then you were able to get him to decommit and come with you to Miami, and that's Shelton Henderson, 5-star wing that will honestly probably lead him in scoring if he's everything he's cracked up to be at the college level. I think there's talent here. I think that there's youth and excitement here around Jai Lucas. The only reason I have him 10th, and I debated forever on should I bump him up, it's just we don't know anything about him as a head coach. What his system's going to be like, how will he do when games are tight, timeouts on big runs. So I put him at 10, but to me the talent's there to climb up a couple spots.
Yeah, I have him 8. I think this is a team with a very wide range of outcomes that I think could make us look foolish in either way, good or bad, for pretty much all the reasons you mentioned. I like this team a decent bit. I think you have like 6 to 7 like really legit guys. And then after that, I think it's a pretty definitive gap. But really 7's, if you're able, like if they're all healthy, that's all you need like later in the year. Malik Renew getting a fresh start is going to be very interesting to see. You mentioned he's like quite talented. I'm very interested to see what they can get out of him. Donaldson and Washington both have legit experience in backcourt. You're going to ask them to do a little bit more. I'm excited to see what they can do with this, particularly like True Washington. He was a guy that I thought was going to be pretty good for Pitino again. Instead, Pitino takes Xavier. He doesn't follow Pitino to Xavier. He goes to Miami. I think that's going to be pretty interesting. Shelton Henderson's a player, all freshman guy for sure. Big, athletic, physically imposing, really talented, but yeah, really athletic and physical. Questions for me are, I think they're pretty low on outside shooting. I think Ernest Uday, too, is a perfectly competent rim protector. He's a very good rim protector, and that's all he's going to give you. I think they're quite low on outside shooting. I will push back a little bit. I think Donaldson's their only plus outside shooter. I mean, granted, his free throw shooting in his college career has not been great. 55% his freshman year, 69% last year. But three-point shooting over the years, 40% as a freshman, 41% as a sophomore, 37% as a junior at Michigan on some decent volume. He made 63 last year. Granted, in 37 games, so that's like 1.5-ish, a little more a game. But I think he's a decent shooter. I think he's their only plus outside shooter on this roster. I don't know a ton about some of the international guys they brought in, so I'd have to plead a little bit of ignorance there. But I think he's really the only plus outside shooter on this roster I think is going to get a lot of minutes. Dante Allen is a kid who's committed to Villanova. So I watched him a decent bit. He's a winner. Pretty skilled player. I'm eager to see what they get out of him. I think he'll be a player as a sophomore, junior. I think he'll really get that really good slasher again, but I don't think they have a ton of outside shooting. I think they're going to be really restricted on the inside, especially if Donaldson isn't hitting, as you mentioned. Like, if you're not a great free throw shooter and it's not consistently following you in games and you're getting great looks with some great coaches, now you're with a guy who we don't know his system. We don't know this, that if he can't hit shots, their team won't be able to hit shots and they'll have a lot of problems. And Malik Renew is very used to teams that do not space the floor well at all.
Yeah.
He'll be able to get his. But for the rest of the roster, I don't know.
That's a great point. He's just so used to like teams that can't shoot worth a lick or won't, just flat out won't, like 8 3-point attempts. Trey Donaldson, yeah, you're right. 40% year one at Auburn, 41% year two at Auburn as a sophomore. Last year it took a little dip, but much higher volume. He took 168 of them compared to 32 and 68 his first 2 years there at Auburn. My point, because obviously in the SEC, I watched Trey Donaldson a lot with Auburn the last couple of years prior to going to Michigan. And I'd have to go back and look at individual games. A lot of those, though, for instance, the Kentucky game a couple of years ago when Cal's final year and they went to the jungle and won that game, they were sagging off Trey Donaldson. Mm-hmm. Like when he had it going into pick and roll, they were on him. But if they left him open as opposed to some other guards or even trying to dig down on Janai Broome, they said, we'll let Trey have it. It was a much smaller percentage. That's why I said last year he took way more. He took over 100 more, actually exactly 100 more 3-point attempts, made a ton more. So that's why I said last year I thought with Michigan, he developed into a good 3-point shooter as opposed to 13 of 32 and 28 for 68. Does that make sense?
Yeah, real quick. I want to add another point because I just looked at like the individual game data, right? Just because as you mentioned that, it's like, okay, I want to look into this. To end 2024, I'm just going to read off the games. 3 of 5, 1 of 2, 1 of 1, 1 of 2, 2 of 3, 1 of 2. So, I mean, I can't do the math in my head on what that is, but that's pretty good. Over 50%.
That's pretty good.
That also means, to your point, before that, he probably was shooting 15% from 3 until he goes on that run where he's a laser and makes 4, 5, 6, 8, 9 threes. So in 2024, he made 9 of his 28 threes in the last 5 games. So that's something. And then the year before,
9 of what? Say that again real quick.
9 of 28 of his threes were in the
9 of 28. So that would have put him at what? 19 of 40, something like
that.
More
than that. Probably like 19 of like. I mean, we're talking 19 of like. I would say like 58.
So we're both right. So you're right. Like he is a very competent shooter right now.
And then in 2023 too, he made his last 5. He made you can even go even further. He made 6 of his last 8. Or 7 of his last 9, excuse me. So 7 of his last 9. So before that, just ending season's hot. Yeah, but like before that, he probably wasn't in anything.
So if he to his freshman year, if he made 7 of his last 9, that meant before that he was 6 of 23.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's right around the 25% mark. So we're both right. We're both he developed into a much more competent 3-point shooter, and he got hot. He apparently just gets hot at the right time of the year. Apparently, that's interesting stats. I like that. But no, the point stands for me on Miami. I have them 10th. There's talent there. I think it comes down to the coaching, to be totally honest, because we don't know whether Jai is going to be good, bad. We know he can get talent, but what's he going to be like as an in-game coach? I still need to see before I can, make any sort of judgment call on him. You have him 8th. I have him sitting here in 10th. Who do you have 10th?
That's where I have Syracuse.
Okay, that's right. You said Syracuse. So let's move up to 9th here. I'll let you go first. Who do you have 9? Let's see if we got the same one.
This is where I have Clemson.
Oh, my God. Okay. I mean, I don't have them that. I don't know why I said it like that. I have them 7th. I have Clemson 7. So
similar range. Yeah.
I don't know why I reacted like that, by the way.
Yeah, I was like, is Josh Clemson top 3? Like, is he that high?
I don't know why. I don't know. Go ahead. I don't know why I reacted like that.
I like Nick Davidson a lot. I think he's a very good player. Like, I think he was one of the best handful of transfers, top 20-ish. I'd have to look at a full list. I'm just going off the dome. But, like, I think he's up there. Dylan Hunter is solid. I think he runs a lot of PG because Porter, the Middle Tennessee State transfer, I can think of his first name now, Justin Porter.
Justin, yeah.
He's Jason Edwards light. Like, that's just kind of who he is. I think Dylan Hunter runs a lot of point. He's not his brother. He's not nearly as good as Chase Hunter. He's not. But I think he can run point. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot, really high assist to turnover ratio. That's kind of really all he brings you pretty much. You can see if he can develop his game, which they've done good with development. Butta Johnson, he's a guy that was with Coach Kennedy at UAB the last couple of years. Awesome name.
Awesome.
Good shooter. Really all he gives you. I don't know. I want to see more from Welling and Wallen. I don't know if they're really players. I trust Brownell, but just straight up, I don't think this roster is very good. I think that we could get back to the older Brownell, or rather, instead of his floor being a Sweet 16 with his last two teams, before that, it was like, are they going to make the tournament? They're in the conversation in February, and then they just don't make it. I think we get back there because you lost Shefflin, you lost PJ Hall, you lost Chase Hunter, who bailed you out in certain spots. I just don't think this roster is very good. Davidson's a player. You got to get someone out of someone else. Good luck.
I think you make fair points. And, I mean, anytime you lose that type of talent that you just talked about, Chase Hunter, Ian Shefflin, the rebounding white monster, apparently, that we talked about last year, like the little round butterball that played below the rim that was getting all these rebounds. And then not to even mention Victor Locken. He played a huge role in Clemson last year. Locken came from Cincinnati as kind of like, okay. But he was awesome for Clemson last year. Like stepping out, making the occasional three, protecting shots at the rim. Like that's a big loss, even though you do bring Nick Davidson in, a different style player, coming in from Nevada, 15.8 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, 100 career games, shot 37.1%, made 46 threes. Again, that's going to play as the center that can stretch the floor and really open up your offense. We talked about Justin Porter coming in from Middle Tennessee, played in 100 career games, averaged 15 points per game last year. Jake Wallen from Utah, 6.3 points, 4.9 rebounds. Carter Welling coming in from Utah Valley, 13.1 points, 6.3 rebounds, shooting 35% on 30 made threes. What I'm getting at here is big talent discrepancy from last year. Just it's natural to happen at a place like Clemson when you lose some all-timers in program history. I do like what you said about Dylan Hunter. I do think he can slide over and take over primary point guard duties, especially if Porter maybe is either not working out or he's in foul trouble. You can slide Hunter in, I think, pretty safely. He's not going to turn the ball over, to your point.
I think just straight up, he is the better point guard.
Well, yeah, and defensively, he's very solid. Mm-hmm. He's very solid defensively. Brad Brownell has kind of built this culture around Clemson where they've almost been Virginia light here in the last couple of years, where we'll play off our defense, we'll not turn the ball over, we're going to make shots, we're going to rebound this shit. We're just going to be tough as hell. And it's going to be hard to replace that from what they've done the last couple of years. But I think there's some pieces here. Hunter coming back is a huge get, or we might as well say get in today's college basketball, having him come back. It's a huge get for him. But Nick Davidson's a massive get coming in from Nevada. I don't know. To me, it's a middle-of-the-road kind of Clemson team. But if Brad Brownell has shown us anything last couple of years is that he likes to surprise us. So I have them 7th. You have them 9th. This is where I have Notre Dame in 9th.
Okay. I have Notre Dame 6th. I'm higher on them than you.
Okay, so Notre Dame last season, 35.5% from the three-point line. That's 86th best in the country. But also defensively at the three-point line, they defended it. Teams only shot 32.1% from the three-point line. That was 78th better. So they were really good on both sides of the three-point aisle there. You look at the Fighting Irish, Marcus Burton's back, star. Braden Shrewsbury, shooter. Sir Muhammad, Nazi's son. I thought he had a little shaky freshman year, but I don't think he was bad. I just think he was a typical freshman that's kind of finding his way. I think he's projected to have a bigger sophomore leap because he was highly coveted coming out of high school. Jalen Harrelson, a freshman that they're expecting to start coming in. Here's the thing. I like Micah Shrewsbury. We've talked about this a lot before. Coming in from Penn State, what he did at Penn State before Coach Rhodes got there, taking the Notre Dame job. It's been slow getting up to speed. But his system, I think, where you grind things out, you have shooters all around with Burton and Shrewsbury. I think they're going to beat some teams this year that maybe surprise people. Like I could see on like a big Monday where Burton, Shrewsbury, Muhammad, Harrelson, they all get cooking. You get Logan Imes off the bench to produce some stuff, maybe chipping like 8-10 points. And you look up and they've beat North Carolina on a big Monday, 61-55. And you're like, holy shit, how did that happen? I think he's due to finally have a very competitive Notre Dame team. But to me, it all depends on the backcourt. If Burton and Shrewsbury is as good as they possibly can be, especially both of them shooting from three, then I think they'll have a chance. If not, then it's kind of an okay roster from here on out.
Yeah. I would say my one question with this team is the depth. I think Serta is a player. It wouldn't actually surprise me if he's starting over Muhammad. I think he's a player. He played, at least in the Butler exhibition, he shot 4-7 from three. He's a player. I think he's going to be quite good. For me, the depth would be the question. Aside from Serta and then the starting five you mentioned, which was Burton, Shrewsbury, Muhammad, Harrelson, Kebajai, I don't know who else is just going to even be a player on this team, right? Who's going to consistently get minutes. But I think that starting five is actually quite good. I think Marcus Burton's amazing. I think when we do first team ACC later, I don't know if I'm going to have him there, but I'm going to strongly consider putting him there just because I think he's awesome. He's a guy that could put up 20 points a game. And if they overperform, it'll be because of Marcus Burton. Jalen Harrelson is a stud. He needs to show that he is as good as he is, but he made a couple, he is just really good with the ball in his hands in particular. He's a guy that can get a rebound, go down the floor and just score and just okay, what are you going to do about it? Very nifty footwork, really athletic, big, physical, long. He's got all those traits. Need to work on the jump shot a little bit, but I think he's very good. Lefty too. He can play with both hands really well. I like him quite a bit. And Kebajai, I think, is quite good as well. I don't think he has shown how good he really is in his college career. I think he'll have more opportunity to do that this year. He's a big that can step out and hit a three. I mean, he hit 7 last year, but he only shot 19 of them. So he wasn't on high volume, but he's an efficient offensive player. He's a good shot blocker. He does all those things, good rebounder. He's a very solid big man. And I think with more of a role, he'll be playing a lot more this year, and he'll be able to show that he is better than he's shown these last couple of years. I think he's quite skilled, and I think he is really developing, really blossoming into quite a good player. I like the starting five quite a bit. Shrewsbury, laser. Serta, laser. I think Imes could be a solid player. Muhammad, you need him to be that driver that can really give you another element on this offense, and that you're just not just surrounded by shooters. But I think they're a very well-coached team, very disciplined. They'll play at their own pace every game. You're not going to speed them up. Marcus Burton's going to win you some games single-handedly. Jalen Harrelson has the talent to do the same. And I think they're just solid. I think they're very solid. So I have them 6th. I do think this is a tournament team. I start at 7 for my tournament teams, but that one's more of people aren't putting them there. I'm going to put them there. I like them more. I legitimately think Notre Dame's a tournament team.
Look, and here's the other thing.
However, if there are injuries, they're screwed. We talked last episode, I don't remember who the team was. That was Iowa State. If Josh State, hurt, they're screwed. I think if Marcus Burton or Jalen Harrelson get hurt, even Kebajai, honestly, if any of these 5 starters get hurt, aside from Serta to Muhammad, whatever, I think they're screwed, completely screwed.
I'll give you a couple because you laid out Harrelson. I kind of jumped over him in those stupid me's, the top 20 prospect or whatever it was, depending on the service you use. I mean, everything you said about kind of a long athletic, they had him listed as a guard, but he's probably going to play more of a 3-4 depending. But everything you said about not a great shooter yet, but very good at getting to the rim and an attacking, slashing type of wing. But how about we give Micah Shrewsbury some credit for in-state recruiting, because Harrelson played at La Lumiere Prep here in Indiana. Brady Kohler at Cathedral High School, a big school right in the city of Indianapolis, private Catholic school. 6'10", 4-star kid from the state of Indiana here, was an all-Indiana what's the team I'm thinking of here? All-Indiana State first teamer. That's what I'm trying to get to. Look, he's not a lethal shooter yet, but I think they said last year at Cathedral he made 32 of his 85 three-point attempts at 6'10". He averaged 16.3 points, 6.6 rebounds. And for those who don't know Indiana high school basketball, when you're playing at a place like Cathedral at the 4A level, that's some of the best you're going to find that produce a lot of top players in the college ranks. I don't know if he cracks maybe the opening 7-8 man rotation early, but I think that's a kid that, should he get an opportunity, I think could slide in, and not only that, but give him size.
Yeah.
6'10" that can shoot a little bit, plays right into what Shrewsbury wants. I think he's not the most athletic. However, when Shrewsbury slows the game down to a crawl, that fits him in a pick and pop. So I think he's a dude maybe later in the year to potentially crack a rotation that can give him some minutes off the bench. But no, I agree. I have Notre Dame nice, but the fact that you mentioned that you think they're an NCAA tournament team, I don't think I'd argue too much with that total, to be totally honest with you. So I have them ninth. Who do you have ninth?
Ninth, this is where I had Clemson.
Okay. I had Georgia Tech eighth. You have
Miami.
You have Miami. Perfect. We're going up the list. I have Clemson seventh. You have Notre Dame. Is that what you said?
No, this is where I have Virginia Tech. I don't know if we've talked about Virginia Tech yet.
Let's talk about. I thought we did when I brought them up, but if not, let's talk about the Hokies. I
mentioned anything about this team. Yeah, so I don't know if I did. At least maybe you did.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I actually wanted to put this team higher, but like I just couldn't. Of Dallas, the Greek kid they bring in, he is a stud. 6'9", legit ball handler, size, really good skill level. He definitely needs to adjust physically and understand leadership, but I think he's a guy that I legitimately think they could put at point guard and be fine with. I think he could be a point guard at this level. I think he's quite good. Very, very skilled. He was a guy that was going to be a second-round pick in the draft, decided to return, to come to school, come to the States, playing for Virginia Tech. They pretty much their entire pitch to him was, we'll let you play point guard, and we'll let you show off your NBA skill. And I think they could really use that. They've really struggled with some lead ball handlers these last couple of years. I think they could use it. Apparently, in their exhibition against Seton Hall, they really struggled with the press break because they just hadn't implemented it yet. So hopefully that's a wake-up call for them to implement that. But that is definitely something I'm going to watch going forward.
Seton Hall was pressing them?
Sounds something to me? Yeah, Seton Hall was. Shocker. Shaheen Holloway was pressing in an exhibition. Shocker.
Go continue. That's funny to me.
But I really like their front court. Toby Lawal is very athletic. He took a massive step forward last year. I think he's a player. I think he's going to take a step forward. And Amari Hansberry is a guy I love. Excellent defender. Like, he was a guy that, like, I would have done dangerous things to be the starting center for Butler this year. He's a guy that I think is very, very good, just straight up. He was starting on that West Virginia team. He was part of the reason they overachieved. Him and Javon Small were the reason they overachieved substantially. Those guys are very talented. I am, frankly, stunned that DeVries didn't take him with him. Like, I would have done whatever I could to take him with him, but he didn't. I think he's awesome. Elite defender. Like, I think they have that. Underrated, good depth. Though I do have some questions with how Isaiah Pasha and Jaden Schutt translate. Schutt needs to hit shots, pun entirely intended. That's just kind of all he brings to you. He's a shooter. He started his career at Duke. I think he only played 1 year there. But yeah, talented player. And Isaiah Pasha was a guy who didn't really have a great year. Like, he was solid, but like not a great year up until the CAA tournament where he was just fucking awesome, dude. 15 points in their opener against Stony Brook in a close win, 3 boards, 2 assists. Okay, fine. Second game was fine. But then he really took over in these later games. 12 points against William and Mary, 7 boards, 8 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. Gave you that. Gave you a bit of everything. Next game, 13 points, efficient shooting from the floor, 4 boards, 3 assists again. And then this title game, they ended up losing to UNC Wilmington in a very, very good game. That was probably one of the better games of not Feast Week, Championship Week. 21 points, 8 boards, 7 assists, just 1 turnover, 1 steal. He gave you everything, man. He's a kid that is getting a lot better, really does a bit of everything. Kid I'm quite high on, physical guard, knows how to play in like any system. Defensively, I do have some questions, but he's a kid that I think is on a really good development trajectory. He was playing his best basketball at the end of the season. That's really what you want to see from a freshman. And he was taking on a different role. That's another thing I really like to see from freshmen. Ben Hammond, local guard, I like him, knows how to run a team. I've seen some people giving him some crap because despite him being a 5'11 guard that was a 3-star that ended up having to start at point guard in the ACC, I think there's some people giving him shit that, frankly, I just don't think I respectfully will disagree with their ball knowledge and say, take a step back. It's a freshman point guard who wasn't expecting to play, who was expecting to be a backup at Rhode Island and it now was a starter at Virginia Tech. And you're giving him shit. I'd say hold the fuck up and give him some damn time. But that's just me personally. I'll defend the PVI kid to the grave, and he'll be a player. Jalen Bedford, I think, could be another player for them off the bench. Christian Gerdak was another PVI team takeover kid who was good. Good at his role. He's a kid that I think could be a good player down the line, good backup for the time being. But yeah, I think this team is good. This is a team that I would have in my tournament today. Again, part of that would just be to have the hot take of like, yeah, no one's going to pick them there. I will, but I like this team quite a bit.
Fair enough. No, I'll leave it at that. 6, this is where I have SMU.
This is where I had Notre Dame.
Perfect. So we've talked about both here, explained both of our cases here. This is where things start to get interesting. To me, there is a clear divide between 3, 4, and 5 from 6 on down, and then 1 and 2. There's a divide from 1 and 2 from everybody else, if that makes sense. So
I have 5 closer to 6 and 7 than I do.
I do too.
I'd say to me, my tier would be 3 through 7. That would be my tier.
Okay, I could look. In all fairness, I could see that. I have Virginia 5th.
This is where I have NC State.
Okay, so I have them 4th. So let's talk about both of them. Let's start with the Cavaliers. I'll put it this way. I believe Virginia, you've went through a couple rough years here lately. Rough in the sense of like it's not been what you'd expected over the last 10. However, I believe you're back. I believe you at least you're on the projection to be back. Ryan Odom is an amazing ass coach. We all know that. I mean, ironically, the first ever 16-1 upset, he was responsible for with his UMBC, his Baltimore County team against who? Virginia. And here's a stat that I was doing a little research that's interesting to me. Since 2021, his teams have overperformed or outperformed their initial KenPom rank. 2021 with his last year at UMBC, they were projected 236. They finished 172. At Utah State year 1, 94th. They finished 60th. Year 2 at Utah State, 68. They finished 28th. Damn. Year 1 at VCU, 86. They finished 75th. Year 2 at VCU, they projected 41. They finished 34. This year at Virginia, they're projected 59. If history tells us anything, they're going to finish way better than 59th. You look at who they brought in with him. Dallin Hall from BYU. 6.8 points per game, 4.2 assists, 35% from 3. That's a player. We all know how good of a role player he'll be. He's kind of projected, at least on this depth chart, to be the starting point guard.
I'm okay with it. Yeah.
I don't know if I love him primary ball handler. Do you like him the primary over like Jakari White or some of these dudes?
Yeah, I think he's a better ball handler than those two guys.
Okay.
I'm perfectly okay with it, frankly. I think he's a guy that has shown that he has the skill to do it. He's going to be asked a little more. We'll see if he's ready for that. But I truly think he has the skill level to do it.
Okay, I think that's a totally fair thing. But regardless, I'm not shitting on the kid at all because I think the kid's really, really damn good. He's been a great role piece in his time at BYU. I don't see any reason why that won't translate now to Virginia. Jakari White coming in from North Dakota State, 17.1 points a game, 4.3 rebounds, 39%, almost 40% from the three-point line, 88 makes on 221 attempts. Malik
he hit
Thomas
7.5 against Butler.
Oh,
7.5.
7.5 threes. Explain that.
No, he hit 7 threes in the first half.
Oh, in the first half. I was like, 7.5? How the hell did he do that? Yeah, I mean, he's a shooter galore. Malik Thomas coming in from San Francisco, 19.9 points per game. Again, another 39% three-point shooter. He made 71 of 180 attempts. This team, I mean, Tice DeRitter coming in as a freshman, expected to start in the front court. Johan Grunlow, another 7-foot freshman, their front court is expected to be big ass freshmen that they're really high on. Ugonna and Yinsu coming in from Kansas State originally at Kentucky. That Kansas State experiment went terrible last year, but his high side we saw with Cal at Kentucky. If you can get him to play within himself and be an elite shot blocker, which he can be, I think if you can get him to just focus and not commit silly fouls, he's a dude that could average 2.5, 3 blocks a game and really change the course of your defense around the rim. He's not a scorer. Like, he'll catch lob threats and the occasional pick and roll lob, but he's not much of you're going to feed it to him in the post and let him go make a move. Sam Lewis transferring in. They're expecting a lot out of him to help in the scoring department, I believe. This team just looks really fun on paper, and Ryan Odom is an incredible coach. I fully expect this team to compete at the top of the ACC and be back in the NCAA tournament. And honestly, if things go well like we think, probably be a really tough out in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I have Virginia 3rd in the ACC. I agree with pretty much everything you said. I think I'm a little higher on Dallin Hall as a lead ball handler than you. I think that's really our main difference. But yeah, Dallin Hall's size and shooting at guard. Malik Thomas is that. Both came from really winning programs, and Jakari White made 7 threes in the first half against Butler. The kid is straight laser, and they kept rotating off of him. Why? I couldn't tell you. But he made the 7th one. Surely he did. You didn't learn after the first 6 somehow. He hit the 7th. Yeah, he is a really good shooter. And yeah, you mentioned with the international transfers up front, or the international kids up front, the freshmen. Grunlow might take a little bit of time, but in the bit I saw of DeRitter, I think he is very skilled. I think he'd be a very skilled high post player. Really good at all 3 levels. He's an international prospect, right? Big, can shoot it, put the ball on the floor. Probably will struggle a little bit with physicality, but really skilled. Grunlow, I would say fairly similar. I haven't looked into him too deeply. I know some teams were interested in him last offseason. He decided not to come over. Then he came over this year. Another very talented player. But one guy I wanted to talk about that you didn't mention. You mentioned Sam Lewis off the bench, really good shooter. You had on Yenso. Yeah, one guy I wanted to mention, standing 5'10" tall.
Chance Mallory. I knew it.
5'10", by the way. Yeah.
I knew it. I knew that's where you're going.
He's like 5'8". There was a picture of him that someone sent me. I don't know if it ended up going on the internet, but like he was just, when Virginia, they won a big football game. I don't remember who they beat, but they won a pretty big football game.
They beat Florida State.
Yeah.
Florida
State,
they
stormed the field.
Yeah.
Chance Mallory was in one of the pictures, and you could not tell it was him because he blended in perfectly with all the students. Because he's 5'8". He's able to fit in that. So he was on the field. But yeah, he is awesome, dude. He's like 5'8". That's why he wasn't like a top. I think he was ranked like 40th straight up. If we're ranking just on skill level, he'd be like top 10. This kid is amazing. He is so good. He's like Kihei Clark with actual skill. Really good shooter, can lead a team, awesome passer. He's going to be so good in due time. He's going to be one of the best guards in college basketball. Probably able to take him a little bit this year because you're adjusting to a lot of size. But like sophomore, junior, senior year, Chance Mallory is going to be one of the best 7 guards in college basketball. I'm just going to put that out there right now. And when I'm correct, you guys can tell me I know ball. I'll wait for my credit on this one. I know I'm going to be right. I'm very confident in that. He is awesome. He's going to be an excellent bench guard. He's going to have some games where he just goes off. He's just going to have games where he just controls everything. It'll take him some time to really get with it in terms of like size, skill, dealing with all that. But he also played at a very high level in high school, high level AAU team. He'll be ready for it. He'll be ready to make the adjustment. He's the guy that's going to surprise people, but he won't surprise anyone listening to the Everything College Basketball podcast.
That's damn right.
Yeah.
Well, the other guy we didn't mention too that I think could play a big. Let's say Tice DeRitter may be coming along a little slow. They want to maybe go a little smaller in height, but bigger in experience. He's a grad transfer from UC Irvine. Devin Tillis coming in from Irvine. Dude, averaged 13.7 on a pretty good Irvine team the last couple of years. That gives you like an instant experience, but offensive punch that you can go to. And that could be like your 7th man, 7th or 8th dude. Or like I said, you could rotate him in the starting lineup if DeRitter or Grunlow's, maybe struggling or whatever the case may be. I think this team has underrated balance and depth. I think offensively they're really going to shine with all the shooters they've got. They've got a ton of experience, just enough I think to allow the 3 freshmen you've talked about in DeRitter, Grunlow, and Mallory to develop without feeling like the weight of the world's on them. I like this, and Odom's awesome. I think they're really going to be a handful this year.
Yeah, another thing I want to mention real quick is something I look for in like lower mid-major, like the up transfers, right? Is guys coming from winning programs.
Yes.
I wouldn't say BYU is an up transfer, but like North Dakota State, that was a very good team last year. San Francisco has been a very consistent program. They've won every year. They play tough teams and they play them very tough. UC Irvine, as you mentioned, that's another winning team. Toledo with Sam Lewis was very solid. Like they have guys coming from winning programs.
No, I think that's a great point. And I think a guy like Ryan Odom, who's spent the last however many years, the last 8 years or whatever, at low and mid-major programs, sees that. And he knows it well.
Winning, there is something intrinsic about winning, just straight up. There is.
Yep. And again, I think he will get the best out of Ugonna and Yensu to give them a legit rim protector. Because he's not going to be much else, but I think at the very least, he'll be an elite rim protector and rebounder. So I have Virginia 5th. Who'd you say you have 5th here?
This is where I have NC State.
NC State. I have them 4th, so perfect. Let's talk about the Wolfpack here. You have them 5th. Talk to me about them.
Yeah, I need to look at Paul McNeil more. He's a guy that people are very high on taking a huge jump. I need to look at him more, just straight up. It's top of my list. It's like, I make sure you mention you need to look into McNeil more. If he's really ready, if I believe he's really ready to take the jump, I don't think I'd move him up, but like it would be another, like I'd probably move him more definitively above 6 and 7. But Darian Williams is that dude, just straight up. He's just that dude. Hell of a pickup, versatile, puts the ball on the floor, super strong. He's an awesome college player. I don't know how great he's going to be as a pro because he's a 6'5" forward, but I mean, awesome college player, skilled at every asset. He willed Texas Tech to some tournament wins last year. He willed them to wins.
The Arkansas game.
Yeah, willed him. He's a winner, just straight up. He has winning DNA in him. He's going to make plays. He's going to win, and he brings that to NC State. Some people have him as player of the year in this league. I do disagree with that, but he's a first teamer, no doubt.
You'll love my player of the year then.
Trey Holloman is another guy. Very good bridge point guard. Very solid, really willing to share the ball. He will embrace his role. He definitely wants to do more on a team like this. That's why he left Michigan State. And I think he has the talent to do so. I think he's going to be a very good second option to Darian Williams. The rest of the roster, again, I mentioned I need to look into McNeil more, but the rest of the roster is why I have them low and why I don't think they're a top 25 team. I don't have them in any of those that tier, right? I think they're like a fringe-ish tournament team. I'd have them in because I have Notre Dame in pretty confidently. I have Virginia Tech in. But like, I think they're a team that I'm lower on than most, where most people are like, yeah, they'll be a top 6 seed. I'm like, this is like an 8. This is a 9, 10 seed right now. I wouldn't be stunned if they missed the tournament at all. It's because of the center spot. Straight up, I am low on Van Allen Lubin. I don't know what people see. Will Wade's been talking about him a lot. He's like, oh, why UNC is an idiot for not playing him 30 minutes a game. I think the reason they didn't play him 30 minutes a game is very clear. He's never proven to be a good defender at the 5 spot or a really good rebounder. He's just not a 5. He's bad at the pick and roll, particularly defensively, but really on both ends. And a front court of a guy that is 6'5" and then a bad 6'8" rim protector, I think that gets you burnt. So pretty much, I think you have to switch 1 through 5 if you're going to be okay defensively, because you run a drop with Van Allen Lubin, you're just going to get torched inside. I think this team is a really clear kryptonite. It is good bigs. I think good bigs are just going to absolutely destroy them. That's a problem. Unless genuinely, I think Darian Williams might be a better paint defender than Van Allen Lubin, and he's 6'5". So yeah, good bigs to me is a really strong kryptonite for this team. And as a result, I have pretty huge questions with the defense that if teams are just going to be able to get looks at the rim against you, I think they're going to convert most of them. I think Van Allen Lubin flat out is a bad rim protector for like even average high major stuff. I think he's a bad rim protector, and I think that's going to get him burnt in games.
Here's my thing. Well, first of all, Van Allen Lubin's on his 4th team.
Yeah.
Started at Notre Dame, went to Vandy, went to North Carolina, and now at North Carolina State. Everything you said is absolutely correct. Here's the thing, the Will Wade factor. His teams pressed the dog shit out of you historically. Mm-hmm. Like last year, or the last couple years at McNeese State, and they weren't the biggest. Right, they were athletic, they were long, they were fast. They were the VCU style, right? That Shocker really made popular. That was carried over. Obviously, Will Wade played a part in that as well. I think you see a lot of pressing, a lot of trying to confuse them. I do think you have to switch, because if you're getting Van Allen Lubin caught on some of these bigs inside, it's barbecue chicken. But I think they're going to trap in the post and try to kick out and recover. I think you'll see a lot of what we call gimmick defenses, whether it be like a 1-3-1 matchup or the press dropping back into a hybrid zone or whatever, because I do think he sees that the interior could be an issue. But with that, other teams got to guard this as well.
Yeah.
Like they have to guard it. And if you're smaller, usually you're quicker. Now, Darian Williams isn't like lightning quick, but he's a fucking bowling ball. Excuse my language. He's a bowling ball, and that's a hard matchup. Terrence Arsenault coming from a program like Houston. What's the one thing you're programmed at Houston to do?
Defense.
You defend. He's 6'6" and long. Paul McNeil struggled a little bit last year as a freshman, but he's a shooter is what they're counting on. Trey Holloman, I loved what you said about him wanting more of an opportunity. Left Michigan State. Tom Izzo, look, if you play for Tom Izzo, you've got some shit to you. I think he's going to bring that over. Will Wade's got some shit to him. I think that's a perfect matchup. Kadir Copeland off the bench. This isn't necessarily apples to apples and oranges to oranges, but it reminds me of last year of when Pope came to Kentucky. The one guy he brought with him was Jackson Robinson. They know the system. You always heard last year Lamont and Kobe Bray and everybody saying that when they were starting to pick up and learn Pope, the one guy that could translate for them was Jackson Robinson. Well, Will Wade's brought a whole new style and system to a whole new group of players. Who's the one guy that can kind of be that coach on the floor for him and be like, oh, this is what he means. This is what we're looking for. Kadir Copeland. And he's an athletic, long guard that is used to what Will Wade's running. I think they're going to expect Allen Breed to probably produce some offense.
Yep.
I wish our guy Trev was on here because if I remember right, I know he redshirted last year, but wasn't the excitement heading into last year around Colt Langdon, like a highly prized freshman potentially? Or was I
Colt
thinking
Langdon's a Butler transfer. He started at Butler.
Okay, Butler. So I was thinking of somebody else potentially. Maybe it was just McNeil, and I'm just losing my mind now. Okay, so you're right. Langdon was on Butler. Now I do remember that. But look, I think there's enough here. I'm totally with you on the front court depth because once you lose Vinal and Lubin, you assume you go down to Musa Sangin or Sagnia. I'm doing terrible with names today. Sagnia? Is that right? Is that how I say it? Sagnia? Well, I'm just going to call him Musa.
Yeah.
You go down to Musa. Okay. But I expect Will Wade's teams to press and really gimmick shit up and try to force you into a track meet in most of these games, and then they're going to be tough. I think the Will Wade factor has bumped North Carolina State's excitement up for me. I have them fourth. Outside shooting, if McNeil's not hitting, I know Darian Williams can really knock it down. Holloman's a capable enough three-point shooter. Arsenault, I don't know. What would you say about him? I always just seen him as a defender.
Yeah, defender.
Defender.
Yeah.
So outside shooting potentially, front court depth, but I think there's enough there. Will Wade's proven to be a really good coach and wins wherever he goes. Look, LSU's not been good since he left, so I've got Carolina State fourth. I really believe in Will Wade. Who do you have fourth?
Fourth, this is where I have North Carolina.
Okay, I have them third. Perfect. Let's talk about the Tar Heels then.
Yeah. I did not expect to rank North Carolina third coming into this. Fourth even. I will not lie to you, but I like this roster's defensive potential.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. Yep. Trimble, Powell, Wilson, Seth Trimble, Jonathan Powell, Caleb Wilson. Jeez, I don't know how that name slipped me. Very good defenders, all very much plus defenders. Visar and Stevenson are fine on that end. They're not great, but they're fine on that end. And yeah, I think they're going to be very good defensively. And I think those guys are all very good college players. In particular, Powell was a guy I thought was really going under the radar as a transfer portal addition. He was a guy that I was very impressed with last year at West Virginia, size, shooter, defender, 3-and-D guy. And he gave you exactly that. And he's going to give North Carolina exactly that. He's a very good player. He's a guy that I think could be a really legit college player in time. I wouldn't even be stunned if he was starting. I don't know enough about this, Luka Bogovac kid.
I don't either.
He could be a very good scorer. The reputation he carries is that he's a great scorer. They're going to need him to score straight up. The one thing that gets me with this team, and it really gets me, I don't understand how you are North Carolina and the guy you hinged on to be your starting point guard was the third or fourth best guard at Colorado State. I don't get it. I really don't get it. He was a guy that he entered the portal and North Carolina was like, that's ours. Yep, he's ours. Move. Everyone out of the way. We're getting Keon Evans. And it's like, him? Really? It kind of blows my mind. That's the one thing that really gets me. You are UNC. Use that Belichick money on your basketball team. Let him tank the football team. You're always going to fucking suck anyway. You fire him, you pay him with a buyout if he doesn't get another job. Great. You go from a team that'll win 1 game a year with Belichick in the ACC at best to 3 games with another guy. Okay, great. And you lost your basketball power. You lost being a basketball powerhouse as a result of that. It's stupid. Use some of that money. If it's not Hubert, get a coach, but more importantly, get a damn point guard. It kind of blows my mind. But yeah, that really surprises me. But looking at the guy backing him up, it's a DMV kid, Josh. It's Derek Dixon, played at PVI. I think it was PVI. Gonzaga next to Nick Lewis in Team Takeover. Josh, he's a player. It wouldn't stun me if he's starting. like straight up, would not stun me if he is starting. He is a player. He was the off guard next to Nick Lewis, I should say. So I don't think he's a 1 at all. But he's a scorer, Josh. He's a guy who will put the ball in the hole. I don't know if what he'll give you anywhere else, but he can put that ball in the hole. I can tell you that much. He will do that. This team's very good. I think the defense is there. Hopefully, Bogovac can really put the ball in the hole, as can Visar. Derek Dixon can play. I think this roster's kind of underrated. Do I like trusting Hubert and having them 4th, having them above Micah Shrewsbury, having them above Will Wade? I don't, but I do. And yeah, if I get burnt by it, I know exactly why. And I'm just going to have the words Hubert written on my forehead, metaphorically speaking.
Well, I love the fact that you took the piss out of Kean Evans. You're absolutely right, though. He was the 3rd best guard on Colorado State. But he's still, like 10.6 points a game, 44% from the 3, almost 45. 44.6, so you'd round it up. 70 made threes, 111 assists. Look, I think that shows how good Colorado State was. Those are good enough numbers, but I totally understand where you're coming from. Seth Trimble kind of carry over from last year. We kind of know what he's going to be. I don't expect him to all of a sudden take like this giant leap and become like Caleb Love type scoring production, but he'll give you some stuff. I'm really with you on this Bogovac kid, because if he's as talented scorer as people have been saying around like North Carolina recruiting, and not recruiting, but like in the basketball world, then you've got a 6'6" wing that can really put the ball in the hole to complement Caleb Wilson, which we know superstar, 5-star freshman that's kind of a do-it-all, will defend his dick off, will block shots, will get the rebounds, run in transition, run point forward, lob threat. Jaron Stevenson, I think, is an incredible transfer get. He was originally, if you remember, and I know you do, but the audience, when he came out of high school a few years ago, it came down between North Carolina and Alabama. He chose Bama, went and played some really good Alabama teams, developed to become an elite catch and shoot kind of corner specialist 3 guy, can defend, really athletic. Now he's back at North Carolina where he could have went to originally. Henry Visar coming in from Arizona, 9.4 points a game last year for the Wildcats, 5 rebounds on 59% field goal shooting. That'll play. The question I have, because I agree with what you said about Dixon, another DMV kid, Jonathan Powell is a really good plus defender. Do you know the injury on Isaiah Dennis? Like, I haven't seen what. Okay, so assuming he gets healthy at some point, you're talking about another high-level guard that people in recruiting circles 24/7 said that he has one of the clean, or not 24/7, sorry, I think it was Tar Heel report, said he has one of the cleanest releases that they've seen according to coaches. Shot like 35% last year in high school. That gives you another at least backup guard that can come in and knock some shots down. It all comes down to how Hubert manages it. There's going to be athleticism with Wilson and Stevenson, especially as your kind of 4 men that are athletic, that can pick and pop, that can block shots, that can play, very switchable, mobile on pick and roll switches or DHO switches. I love the addition to Henry Visar. I think this is kind of where we see, after some down years, Carolina maybe start getting back to being Carolina, as long as Hubert doesn't screw it up.
Yeah, agreed. Hubert, it's the question.
Totally the question. But I do like the team. I think there's a good balance there. I have Carolina 3rd. You have
Virginia,
and we already spoke on the Cavaliers. So this is the question. The clear cut to both of us, 1-2 teams, it just depends on the order, is Duke and Louisville. Who do you have 1 and who do you have 2?
Winning the ACC. And I wanted to look up like schedule angles, if this makes it like, I think it is like competitive enough for this to be like a difference. So I am actually like going to pull this up as we speak. But at number 1, this is where I had the Duke Blue Devils. And number 2 is Louisville for me.
Okay, we have them flip-flopped. I have Louisville and Pat Kelsey. I think they're the best team in the ACC. Duke slightly behind, but I figured you may go the other way.
So it seems like, to me, it looks like, just looking at the schedule, Duke and UNC obviously play twice. Duke goes at Louisville pretty early, January 6th.
It's only one time, right? I think it's only.
Yeah, and that's the only time they play. And then looking at the teams they play, Duke, Virginia comes to Duke. They don't play Virginia any other time. Who are some of the other teams we are? NC State. Duke goes to NC State. I don't think NC State comes there versus Louisville. Seemingly might have the easier schedule. Oh, no, they play twice. They go to Duke the 26th. Okay, that's much better. Louisville only goes at UNC. UNC doesn't come to Louisville, so that could hurt resume stuff. Louisville has to go at Clemson. At Wake could be tough, even at Virginia Tech. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know how much the schedule plays into it. I'd have to really look into it deeper and like really like digest it. But yeah, I got Duke number 1. I think they're the better team.
Oh, well. Easy as that. No, I think Louisville has them here. And look, you bring in arguably maybe the best freshman in the country, like one of the top 2 or 3, and Michael Brown Jr. that's going to run point for you. That's a top 3 draft pick, top 5, however you want to look at that. You bring in Ryan Conwell in that from Xavier. It's a 41% three-point shooter. You bring in Isaac McNeely, another three-point shooter, shot 42% last year, 44% the year before at Virginia. That's an immediate 1-2-3 punch in a system of Pat Kelsey that wants to get a ton of threes up. They want to shoot 30, 35 plus threes a game. Very high octane offense. Kashawn Pryor being back off of injury. Now, we'll see how that affects him. Always coming back from injury, but he's a year 6 guy. We saw when he played last year prior to the injury, like he was like their point forward for him. Catch the ball at the top of the key and initiate offense, get downhill on his own. You could post him up. He could step out and hit threes. They bring in Sonata Frew coming in from Germany that people are raving about. Ali Khalifa sat out last year as a red shirt. We saw 2 years ago at BYU. Go back to any of our shows 2 years ago, and you'll hear DeRosa cream his pants every time we talk BYU and Ali Khalifa. Javon
Hey, well, they don't do that in Mormon culture. You can't say that. They don't do that there.
Oh, that's bullshit. You've heard of soaking. They just go.
No, they're someone else is moving them. They're not moving.
Yeah, they're shaking the bed. That's what they're doing.
Someone's shaking it. Yeah, there's no movement there.
Ali Khalifa, though, I mean, we know how talented that. But I've heard Evangelos Zougaris from Peyton and from people around the Louisville camps. Apparently, Pat Kelsey's raving about the Greece transfer. They said that, I think Peyton had told me, Pat Kelsey said that there's going to be a game this year that there's going to be a loose ball or something. Zougaris is going to get his nose bloodied, and he's going to come up with blood looking like a warrior and just smile and be the scariest human being ever. So I think they're expecting him to contribute a little bit and, maybe 10 minutes or less off the bench as a rotational big. But they've got good front court depth. Connie Bruce is back. Javon Hadley had a pretty good year last year, transferring in with Pat Kelsey in year 1 at Louisville. Kobe Rogers, Adrian Woolley coming in. He averaged, like 20 points a game on 40-some% three-point shooting. You're talking about Michael Brown projected, like 39, 40% from 3. Ryan Conwell, 41%. Isaac McNeely, 44%. Kashawn Pryor can step out and knock threes. He'll probably be around 34, 35. Adrian Woolley's a 40% three-point shooter. Javon Hadley can knock down the occasional. This team's going to be able to shoot in theory. They're going to play fast. They have the defensive potential with some of these guys. Of course, how does a superstar like Michael Brown do, always does he buy in defensively? But they've got the talent, I think, on both sides of the ball. They're going to score a ton of points. I think Louisville's a real problem, not only in the ACC this year, but I think in college basketball as a whole. They're going to be a bitch to play this year.
Yeah, I think they're a top 10 team. Pretty much everything you said is the upside case. It is they have shooters galore. They're going to play a system, and they're deep. They have the depth to just run 8, 9, 10 guys out there, and they're going to beat some teams just with pace. Like, even if the shot isn't like completely falling that day, and let's say instead of other 40% guys, they're shooting 28% from 3-1 game, they could just outpace them and just kind of break a team just because they're going to play so fast and they're deep. Couple things for me that I'm just going to push back a little bit. Again, I think they're a top 10 team. So like we're really splitting hairs between these two. Of course, yeah. One, the defense. I do have some questions just because I wouldn't say Conwell's a plus defender. I wouldn't say McNeely's really a plus defender. I think Mikel Brown's actually very good. I think he'll be a very good defender. Like watching him with the USA U18 team, he's one of the best guys there. Defend both ends, dunking. Like he's awesome. Like just truly at every facet of basketball, he's great. But yeah, the defense, Kasson Pryor, I think is a fine defender. I don't know how good Sonata Frew is as a defender. So that would be my question. I know Ali Khalifa and how highly I spoke of him. Not a good defender at all. Woolley, I know if he's a good defender either. So defense would be my question with this team. 1 and 2. This is a weird one, but this is one I do just want to see it proven to me. I don't know how ready Pat Kelsey is for his first team with actual expectations. Like his last year Louisville team. Yeah, it was like
speak on that. That's a good point, actually. Yeah, go ahead.
Like coming from Winthrop, your expectation, you can compete at the top of the league. Then he won the league. And it's like, okay, great. You won the league. You did your job. Going to Charleston, same thing. They ended up winning the league with a lot of talent. But like even they had some years where they just didn't win the league. And it's like, it struggled a little bit. Saw some things, didn't like perform great in the conference tournament. But like you're not dealing with media scrutiny at Charleston, respectfully. It's Louisville. Like if this team underperforms a bit, you're going to be hearing like, oh, they spent this much on basketball and they can't win this game. They did this. They can't win the big game here. They can't do this. They can't do that. So just a little bit of question of like what happens. How does Pat Kelsey deal with like his first team with real expectations? How is he responding if they lose a big game? How do you respond to like certain things like that? It's his first time with a team with that expectations that will be coming with that level of scrutiny. I just don't know how he's going to deal with it. He could, and by all indications, he's going to be very good with it. He's going to deal with it very well, but we don't know for sure, right? We just don't have the answer yet.
Dude, I think that's an underrated. I think that is one of the better points you've made today. And you could even go when we talk about the SEC in the next episode, their counterpart, biggest rival, another top 10 team down the road. Mark Pope's heading into year 2 the same way Pat Kelsey with massive expectations. But here's the thing. I was
like, okay, you're making the transition. And like Kentucky people, the main critique with him has been you can't get a recruit, right?
Right.
Now
from the high school ranks,
okay. Yeah. He this is a team that is expected to compete in the top 5. What happens if you don't? Like how do you deal with that? You know?
And I think that is I really do think that's a very good point people need to take in, because we always talk about the players, but a lot of times, how does the coach react? Like eventually every team, unless you're just super, super special. And I don't know if we have, Purdue, Houston, UConn could potentially be that. But everybody's going to, at some point throughout the conference, you're going to take like a downturn where they lose like 2 or 3. Like, how do you bounce back when you've been such a high-flying team? How do you respond when things maybe go a little south? And I think it's a great point. Here's why I believe in Pat Kelsey and Mark Pope is because they're not making, like, they're both being bold about their ambitions for their programs and expectations are leaning into them, which I think is a good thing. Don't run from it. Don't downplay it. But I think they're humble enough to realize, holy shit, we've got to like literally just take this one game at a time. And if we screw up, we'll admit to it and we'll move on. As opposed to, there's a lot of coaches that will not admit fault for anything and won't change. I think both of those guys, if things aren't working, they'll look at the analytics, they'll look at themselves and be like, all right, well, shit, we got to change this. And I think that'll be a big benefactor for both of them.
Or it could also go the other way where it's like, okay, things aren't working, but it's like, why isn't it working for Louisville, right? Well, they had 2 games where they didn't shoot it well. And it's like, well, that's just going to happen. Sometimes you have off days. Sometimes they're back to back. If you look at it and go, okay, we have to completely like change what we do and focus more on driving the lane, like inconsistently and not shooting threes. It's like, okay, you're divvying away from what you do best versus it's just like, no, they just had 2 bad games. It's going to happen. If you stick with it, we're going to win more games than not. So like there's definitely elements of like both sides to it,
Well, and when you shoot as many threes as both are wanting to and projecting to, like for Louisville, since we're talking ACC, they're wanting to shoot 35, 40 a game. There's going to be nights, no matter how many 40+% three-point shooters you usually bring in, that the ball is just not going to go in the bucket. It's just not. And so can you win based upon your defense or getting to the foul line? But, man, I love this Louisville depth. I love that the fact that they've got their star in Michael Brown. I think this team could be Final Four good. I think top end talent-wise, I think they're Final Four good.
Yeah, I can see it.
Let's finish out with our awards like normal here. I kind of spoiled my player of the year, but I think
you want to talk about Duke for a little bit? We haven't talked about Duke yet.
Oh, well, yeah. I thought you kind of said, well, they're going to be better talent. So, yeah, let's go ahead and Duke real quick.
I just think the one thing for them is Cam Boozer is a winner. He has won at every single level. He is a guy that like epitomizes winning DNA. He does a bit of everything. If there are flaws with this game, his jump shot doesn't look the prettiest. That's kind of it. He's effective with it. It's just not the prettiest. And he doesn't have like good hip dexterity. Those are like his only flaws. Like he's going to be an awesome NBA player. Like it's just going to happen. Dame Sarr, I think, is an awesome player. He's hurt today, so he's not going to play in their exhibition going on in 5 minutes from now against UCF. But I think he's an awesome scorer. I think Isaiah Evans is going to take a step forward. I think Caden Boozer is a very solid floor general, one of the better players in this country. I think he's being underrated because his brother is better, that people are like, well, he can't be that good. It's like, just because he's the worst brother doesn't mean he isn't awesome. Awesome facilitator in general. Caleb Foster will run some one. Darren Harris was the best shooter in the recruiting class 2 years ago. And Patrick Ngongba and Malik Brown are two guys that are going to play a lot, awesome defensively. And Ngongba's going to take a huge jump forward. I think this team's the best just because I know they're going to be a very good defensive team. I have questions on that end for Louisville. I know Duke is the best defensive team in this league by a pretty wide margin, and I think the offense will be very good as well. They might not be the best, but Louisville will probably be the best offensive team in this league. But I think Duke will be second versus Louisville. I could see being the fourth best defensive team in this league.
Yeah, I think Duke is – I'm trying to pull up KenPom here to see what they have Duke defensively. They have them projected 17th. I think that by the year's end, to your point, with all the defensive mind, like Ngongba is a rim protector, Boozer's a very good individual defender, Dame Sarr. Like, I think that by the year's end, they'll end up being top 10 defensively nationally. I don't want to say they'll be top 10 offensively. Mm-hmm. I think they'll be top 20 offense, top 10 defense, but that usually equates always to a Final Four and a national championship type team. Malik Brown's injured right now. Let's see when he comes back. So the rotational there at the 5 spot in particular could get a little interesting, but they're going to have shooting. They're going to be able to defend. They're going to have versatility. Look how long and big they are. Like, all your point guards are 6'4", 6'5". You've got wings that are 6'6", 6'8", 6'9", Boozer with versatility. You've got your superstar in Boozer. You've got your rim protection in Ngongba. Like, yeah, this team's going to be loaded, but I really agree with you that I think this team it's the best defensive team in the ACC and probably be one of the top 5 to 10 best defensive units in college basketball. And look, John Shire, remember his early kind of people thought, well, is he going to underperform? He'll get the talent. But shit, the last 2 years he's made what? A lead, or was he Sweet 16 and then last year a Final Four?
Yeah, last year he made the Final Four. 2 years ago, let's see, in 2024,
Tennessee beat them, right?
Yeah. NC State beat them.
Oh, NC State, right. The year before that, Tennessee. So last year kind of dispelled everything. Like, can he do it? Yeah, he made the Final Four in one of the best Final Fours of all time as far as talent goes with all one seed. So, yeah, Shire's figuring it out. It just took him a little while to kind of really get rolling. But Duke's going to be awesome, and I think the difference between them and Louisville are very, very thin margins. It's to your point. Do you trust Louisville's offense or do you trust Duke's defense? I know defense travels, but when you have that amount of shooting and that type of tempo in today's college basketball, I will slightly trust the offense, but it's splitting hairs. I don't think you're wrong if you go whichever version of the two, but they're clearly the best 2 teams in this league. Let's round out with the awards here. I spoiled mine earlier, kind of picking fun at it, but I got Darren Williams. I have NC State 4th. Will Wade, I think, brings the best out of a lot of different people that he coaches. Darren Williams was awesome last year with Texas Tech. I see no reason that slows down. I see no reason why he's not probably the leader in shot attempts. He's going to have games where he has big numbers with scoring and rebounding, throw in some assists here and there. I just probably will be totally off the mark here, but I think he's due for just a huge, huge, huge year under Will Wade.
Oh, he's going to have a huge year, no doubt. Cam Boozer. Duke's not having a top 5 pick without them winning ACC Player of the Year.
And especially if they win the league, that usually how that goes. Coach of the Year, I've got Pat Kelsey.
I'm going to go a little off the beaten path here. I'm going to go Ryan. I mean, not really. No, I'll go Ryan Odom. I thought about Shrewsbury very deeply, but I'm going to stick with Ryan Odom.
Freshman of the Year to me is easy. Oh, well, not really because Cam Boozer's in here too. But for me, if I got Louisville winning the conference, I got Michael Brown. Ball's in his hands. He's going to dictate.
Parlay at Cam Boozer.
Newcomer of the Year. I mean, if he's my player of the year, he's my newcomer, Darren Williams.
Parlay at Cam Boozer, but like I'll just pick you could also just put Darren Williams here just because he's the next best guy. But yeah. Cam Boozer.
All ACC first team. My 5: Darren Williams from North Carolina State, Michael Brown from Louisville, Cam Boozer, Duke, Caleb Wilson from UNC, and then I'm going Isaac McNeely instead of Ryan Conwell from Louisville. I think McNeely will continue to shoot well, and I just think his numbers will look slightly better than Conwell. So I've got 2 Louisville kids in my my all first team.
All right, Cam Boozer. Give me you know what? I'm gonna by a jump. Give me Isaiah Evans. I'm just doing these off the dome if you can't tell. Give me Conwell. Let's go Darian Williams, obviously, for 4. And then that 5th spot. You know what? I teased it earlier. I was like, I'm not going to do it. I am going to do it. Fuck it. Marcus Burton, 5.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's the Atlantic Coast Conference. We expect at least the upper to be elite as far as 1 and 2, middle to be fairly competitive, and then the bottom to be pretty bad. So we'll see. We talked about upside, probably 7 or 8 if the league is pretty good this year. Downside, you're looking at maybe 5 teams in the NCAA tournament. We'll see. It's a big year for the league with new coaches that really have to win to probably save their job for another year. And then a lot of really high-level freshmen and transfers in this league should make it an interesting, especially offensive-minded league. So we'll keep an eye out on the ACC. We've got one more power conference to come up before the season begins, and that will be heading down to last year's best conference in college basketball. Can they repeat this year in the SEC? The national champions have reloaded, really good backcourt, looking to win the league. They were projected to win the league by the media in the AP poll that came out last week. You've got Kentucky that spent $22 million apparently on their roster. They're loaded. You've got Arkansas, really good. There's a lot of really good teams. Tennessee kind of retooling, but it's always going to be good. I think the league's going to be phenomenal again this year. We will check out on episode 235, the SEC. But until then, for DeRosa and myself, we hope you guys enjoyed this ACC preview. Until the episode 235, we will catch you guys down the road. Peace.